Hello and welcome to the Franz van Kath interview. I'm Annette Young. For a country renowned for its booming economy, South Korea's gender inequality is the highest in the developed world. Now, according to the Global Gender Gap Index, it ranks 111th out of 135 countries, just behind the United Arab Emirates and one place ahead of Kuwait. Yet this is a country that voted in its first woman president last year. So why is Asia's fourth biggest economy lagging so far behind when it comes to equality? Ju Young-sung is South Korea's Gender Equality Minister and joins me in the studio today. Minister, thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you.
I understand and I know that you're here to attend an international comics festival where there's an exhibition to raise awareness of the treatment of Korean comfort women during World War II. But I want to first of all talk to you about this extraordinary figure that I found when I was doing the research for this interview, which to me shows what a disconnect between the image that we have as foreigners between a sort of highly tech-savvy, very modern society and a society where women seem to barely feature in corporate and public life.
Actually, most of the Koreans were shocked about the low ranking about the gender gap index. Actually, the kind of basis of the statistics are based on the year before our president was inaugurated. So perhaps from this year, the announcement will be a little bit better, we expect. But actually, the major problem, the major reason for that low ranking is because of the low participation rate of female in the economic marketplace.
Why does that happen? Why is that the case?
Actually, in their 20s, Korean women, the employment rate and college enrollment rate is higher than men. However, as soon as they get into 30s and they get married and bear children, their employment rate drops sharply, and the employment rate of the men in their 30s rises sharply. So the difference is about 35, more than 35%. So that means the career is disrupted because of the raising children for the working mothers.
Is that because there's not enough childcare facilities to allow for women to go back to work full time?
Yes, absolutely. When I was raising kids in the late 90s and early year 2000, actually there was very little infrastructure for the child caring for the working mothers. But our government, under our Madam President, when she was leading the party, we started to provide the free child care until the age of 5, so that we can help to raise the fertility rate and to help those working mothers to keep their jobs while they are raising kids.
But I imagine it's also a matter of cultural mindset, isn't it, as well? Because it's not just offering facilities, but it's changing people's attitudes towards participation of women in the workforce.
Yes, absolutely, you're right. Actually, in Korea, most of the burden, responsibility of raising kids and household matters are imposed on women. So the average working hours devoted to the household matters and child caring, the average wives who is not working is more than 6 hours. And the average wife who are working is 3 hours, more than 3 hours. While the husbands, regardless of whether their wives are working or not, 37 minutes.
That's extraordinary. It really is. Now, people say that the South Korean President Park Geun-hye, who's a conservative politician, is not really an ambassador for women's issues.
That is what Madam President Park Geun-hye was criticized by the opposing party. However, when I was working as a spokesperson for her during the presidential election, she emphasized the importance of balance between work and life, and the great initiative, she made a great initiative as a policy platform for her presidential election, how to help those working mothers keep their job while they are raising children. So as soon as she was inaugurated, she called me. And when she called me, she asked me to work as a Minister for Gender Equality and Family. And she told me that, Yoon-sun, you know very much that how great importance I put in this matter. So, and Yoon-sun, you are actually the working mother raising 2 daughters. I want you to work very proactively based on your own experience. So that is what our president did tell me. And actually, she gave me a very great homework that Yoon-sun, the Minister of Gender Equality, you should bring me the visible outcome regarding the entire life cycle of women from marriage, pregnancy, childbirth, and raising kids with visible outcome. That is the homework that I
And
get.
that's the homework that you're now working on. But what needs to be done? Because it still is an extraordinary gap, isn't it?
I see.
It's a chasm. It's not even a tiny gap. It is a chasm.
Right, right. So we are doing whatever we can do. I think there is no single panacea to cure all this problem at the same time. However, we should do whatever we can do at the same time to give more options to the working mothers. The firstly is to kind of revise, to prepare all those social infrastructure and government policy systems. For example, we call it three musketeers to help those balance between work and life. First is childcare centers near to their residence or at their workplaces. So the government encourage and provide incentives and subsidizing those companies who prepare those childcare centers at the workplace. And second one is a flexible working system, the flexibility in terms of time and in terms of place. So for those mothers, we provide a very decent part-time jobs in a vast amount. And then we are now working for the remote working system.
But, I mean, let's just talk about the Korean society. I mean, this is a society where companies will take clients to gentlemen clubs with hostesses, and it's all part of the sort of, day-to-day practices of corporate life. How did someone like you break through that ceiling, given the nature of a very, from where I'm standing, a very sexist society?
Actually, I was the first female Korean lawyer at my law firm when I started working there. And I found it is so unnatural to me to adjust myself in a male-dominant society. When I was working as a spokesperson for my president during the candidacy, one day our candidate was talking with the college girl student. And suddenly it occurred to me that in Korea, if we have a female president, then men will start to think how to communicate well with women.
Do you think that's changing already?
Yes, very much. And I found that from last year, many companies started to appoint the first female highest ranked officers, management in their company. And the only theme that can be picked up by the press regarding any recruitment or reshuffling of a company, that's women. And actually, recently, the president appointed a CEO, the female CEO, in a leading public financial company. And I think that is not only an example of glass ceiling cracker, but also I told my president that it will increase the employment rate of women, and it will decrease the rate of women who quit their job.
Now, changing topic, as I said earlier, you're here for an international comics festival, which is featuring animation on the treatment of Korean women during World War II by the Japanese military, basically these women became sex slaves. This is a story that still very much to this day resonates in South Korea, doesn't it?
Yes, right. Actually, we have we estimate that more than 100,000 victims were recruited during the Second World War. However, from year 1992, only 231 was registered as an official victim. And recently, while I was away in Davos, I heard that one lady passed away. And actually from last year, I decided to visit every one of them in person. And I was so sorry that I missed. I couldn't meet her before she passed away.
Now, the Japanese are saying that they've done what is required in terms of, as far as these women are concerned, but the remaining survivors are still demanding compensation, aren't they?
The sincere apology, because in the year 1993, the Japanese government made a statement called the Kono Statement and provide a sincere apology, and they will do whatever proper they should do to straighten up the past history and then resolve this matter.
Do you think there will be a point in time in which both South Korea and Japan can reconcile over this issue?
I'm afraid I can call it a reconcile because this is not a matter of between Korea and Japan. A lot of victims in a lot of countries, including China, Netherlands, Thailand, Taiwan, and Philippines. And I think this is not a matter of the past because we have about 50 ladies surviving as a kind of actual evidence. And the international community raises our voice against those sexual violence, which is also happening in the regions in conflict. In order to resolve this problem properly, in order to not to repeat the same mistake again in the human history, I think what we have to do is to properly resolve what have been done in the past. And we think that apology is not to blame somebody's mistake, but an apology is a very courageous and strong commitment not to repeat the same mistake again.
Minister, I'm afraid we're going to have to leave it there. Thank you so much for being with us. And that's it for this edition of the Frans van Kath interview. Do stay tuned for more news and headlines coming up shortly.